In this video, we are going to be taking a look at how you order fractions and decimals. Now, the goal for today's lesson is to be able to order decimals, fractions, and mixed numbers on a number line. And the key essential questions that we want to think about as we go through this lesson is how can you order decimals, fractions, and mixed numbers on a number line. The first thing we'll do is just unlock the problem together, and I want you to all turn to page 247 in your resource practice book, and let's take a look at the unlocking the problem together. It says, in tennis, Jocelyn's serve takes 97 hundredths of a second to reach her opponent. Dave's serve takes 4/5 of a second. Monica's serve takes 85 hundredths of a second. Order the three serves from shortest to longest. Now, the first thing that we need to do in ordering fractions and decimals on a number line from least to greatest is locate the benchmarks on the number line. Now, what you can do is either divide your number line by tenths or by 20ths. Now, if you do it by 20ths, each section here is 5 hundredths. Okay, so we have 5 hundredths, 10 hundredths, 15 hundredths, 20 hundredths, 25 hundredths. Okay, so you can easily count by tens and it'll take you all the way up to, count by fives and it'll take you all the way up to 1 there. So the first thing that you do want to do is you want to find the benchmark fractions on the number line. These are the fractions that we think of whenever we're looking at a jar of candy. We want to think about what quarter or what fraction is it full. We would not say 3/7. We may say 1/4 or 1/2 or 3/4. So that's what we mean by benchmark fractions. Now, we want to order these in the benchmark fractions. Okay, so we locate the benchmark fractions. So 25 hundredths is actually 1/4. 5 tenths or 50 hundredths is 1/2. 75 hundredths is 3/4. Okay, so what we can do, first of all, we know that 4/5 is right here on my number line because that is also equal. If you take 4 and divide it by 5, that's going to give you 8 tenths. Okay, and that falls right here on my number line. Now 85 hundredths comes just right after my 8 tenths. We add 5, that's 85 hundredths. Then we have 90 hundredths, 95 hundredths, and just a little bit past my 95 hundredths is my 97 hundredths there. Okay, so we've located all of these on the number line, and then we're going to order the fractions and decimals. Okay, now it is important to understand this key tip here. The point farthest to the left is the least value. Okay, just like any other number line, the further you go to the left, the smaller the numbers get when we're dealing with whole numbers. Okay, so the times in order from shortest to longest, we have 4/5 would be the shortest, 85 hundredths, 85 hundredths, and then finally 97 hundredths, and order those from shortest to longest. Okay, so let's take a look at the bottom of page 247. It says, try this. We're ordering 6 and 3 hundredths, 5 and 9 tenths, 5 and 3/4, and 6 and 2 tenths from greatest to least. So the first thing we need to understand is that this number line is set up from 5 all the way to 6 and 25 hundredths. Okay, we don't need to start at 0 and go all the way up to 6. We can just start right at 5, and the reason why we can start at 5 is because the least whole number is 5. There's no sense in going all the way from 0 to 5 and so on. Now, what we want to do next is we want to locate all of the benchmark fractions on our number line. Now, luckily, those are all there for us. Okay, but the benchmark fractions, 5 and 1/4, 5 and 1/2, 5 and 3/4 here, even 6, and then 6 and 1/4. Okay, so we want to order these from greatest to least. Now these are already on the number line, so if we're going from greatest to least, we could see over here that 6 and 2 tenths is all the way to the right on my number line, so I'm just going to write 6 and 2 tenths. And then I can see that I have 6 and 3 hundredths that comes next. And then I keep moving left. I have 5 and 9/10. And then finally 5 and 3/4. So you can see I went from right all the way to the left, and then easily I can order and sort these mixed numbers and fractions and decimals from greatest to least just by looking at my number line. Okay, now let's do this first one together here. It says locate each number on the number line, then write the numbers in order from least to greatest. So it is important to make sure that we know what we're doing. We're writing these numbers from least to greatest. So already my number lines are labeled with the benchmark fractions. Now we need to find 3/5. Okay, so since this is divided up into 20 sections, each section we just add 5 to. Okay, so 3/5. Okay, if I want to change this into a decimal, what I can do is I can get out my calculator, and in order to change a fraction to a decimal, you just divide the numerator by the denominator, 3/5. That's going to actually give me 6/10. Okay, so what I do is I will locate that 6/10 on a number line. Now I know that's 5/10, that's 55/100, and this is 6/10. Okay, so 3/5 is represented right here on my number line. So the next one is 54/100. Now I know that each section does represent 5. I have 5/10, and then this would be 55/100, but that's 54/100, so that would be just to the left of that 55/100 mark, and I will just write 0.54. Okay, now since my number line is divided up into 20ths, like I said, each section does represent 5, and I have 35/100, and I know this is 25/100 here, so that would be 30/100, and then 35/100 would be located just right here on my number line, 0.35. Now that I've located all of my fractions and decimals on my number line, it's very simple to order them from least to greatest. What I do is I just start from the left, and then as I come to each fraction or decimal, that is the next greatest fraction or decimal. So all the way to the left, I have 35/100. Then my next number is 54/100. Why is that my next number? Because that's the next number that comes on my number line. So 54/100. And the greatest of these would be 3/5. Okay, and that's how you order them from least to greatest. Is we're going to need to create our own number line. Okay, so it's really the best to create it in 20ths. I know even before I said tenths, but 20ths could even help you get a little bit more specific. Now remember, when it's in 20 sections here, each section represents 5/100ths. Okay, what we are going to do here though is we are going to represent this as 1 for number 2. Okay, because it starts, every whole number is 1. Okay, and then we're going to go all the way to 2. Okay, now after you have drawn your number line, what I want you to do is find the benchmark fractions. Now, remember 25/100 equals 1/4. We can see right up here. So what we will do is go 25/100 over. So 5/100, 10/100 or 1/10, 15/100, 20/100, 25/100. Okay, so 25/100 is right here, which actually represents 1/4. Okay, and then we can go 30/100, 35/100, 40/100, 45/100, and then 50/100 actually represents 1/2. Okay, and then is actually 1 and 1/2, 1 and 1/4, and then 55/100, 60/100, 65/100, 70/100, 75/100 actually represents 1 and 3/4 from here, and that's 0.75. I apologize. All of these decimals should be 1 and 25/100, 1 and 5/10, and 1 75/100. My apologies there. Okay, now from here, what we can do is we can locate these decimals on or decimals or fractions on the number line. So we have 1 and 1/16. Okay, now we know that this represents 1 and 25 hundredths. So we know this would be 1 and 20 hundredths, 1 and 15 hundredths. So we know just a little bit past that line will be 1 and 16 hundredths. Okay, my 1 and 1/4 is already right here. Okay, 1 and 37 hundredths. Okay, we know that's 1 and 25 hundredths here, 1 and 30 hundredths, 1 and 35 hundredths, and a little bit past here would be 1 and 37 hundredths. Okay, and then 1 and 1/10 we can have, that's 1 and 5 hundredths, 1 and 1/10 will be right here. I'm just going to write it right underneath here. Okay, so now that we have all of our fractions labeled, okay, what we need to do, we're going to order these from greatest to least, and that's really important to make sure you know that. Okay, so we can see that 1 and 37 hundredths will actually come first because that's furthest to the right. So we'll just write 1 and 37 hundredths, so we have that. And then we go to the left here, we have 1 and 1/4. Okay, then from here we have 1 and 16 hundredths. And then finally 1 and 1/10. Okay, and that is how you order fractions and mixed numbers from greatest to least using a number line. Okay, I want you to do number 3. However, before you start this out, I want you to create your number line, and I want you to divide it up into 20ths. And when you press play, I'll show you what your number line should look like, and then you can start ordering from least to greatest from there. So I want you to create your number line, pause the video, then press play, and I'll show you what your number line looks like. So pause the video now. So this is the setting up of the number line. Now your next step is to find all of the fractions and mixed numbers. You may even want to change some of these fractions, you will want to change these fractions to decimals just by dividing the numerator by the denominator. Okay, and then you'll find these fractions on the number line very, very easily. So pause the video now, find these fractions and decimals. When you press play, I will have the answer ordered from least or greatest to least. So pause the video now. Now we have the answers here from greatest to least. We have 78 hundredths, which comes to all the way to the right on my number line, then 5/8, and then 5/10, and then finally 2/5. Okay, so that's how you order fractions and decimals from greatest to least on a number line. So what I want you to do is complete numbers 4 through 8 in your math books on page 248. And when you press play, I will have the answers for you. You will need to set up your own number line. So for example, for something like this, you just need to go from 0 to 1. For a problem like this, just go from 7 to 8. From here, 0 to 1 on your number line. And then from here, you will need to go actually from 2 all the way even to 4. Okay, so make sure you remember that. And like I said, when you press play, I'll have the answers for you. So pause the video now. Okay, here are the answers for numbers 4 to 7. So you may even need to pause this and double check and make sure your answers match with mine. Okay, now for number 8, let's take a look at the answer here. We have 8 and 2/10 and 8 and 1/5 are equal. Okay, so they are closest. Possible explanation you may have, I saw on the number line that the two values were in the same place, so they were the closest. Okay, so let's finish out the video here by taking a look at the essential question. Okay, how can you order decimals, fractions, and mixed numbers on a number line? What we can do here is first put benchmark fractions on the number line, locate the numbers on the number line, and then we can easily read the numbers from least to greatest, and if you read the numbers on the line from left to right. So this is how you order fractions and decimals. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.